How's it going, Andrew?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. Thanks so much for coming in. I appreciate you.
Of course. Happy to be here.
I've been following you on Instagram. Well, somebody messaged me. I love Instagram. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad in social media, but
For sure.
I've been connecting to a lot of cool people through this whole podcast process. A
Yeah.
lot of people in recovery, a lot of people suffering with other addictions. I've been talking a lot about food addiction, like all these cool avenues that I never would have known about if I didn't start this thing. And somebody messaged me, one of the viewers messaged me and said, you got to reach out to this guy. He's fucking hilarious. He's sober,
Yeah.
And so I started watching your stuff, and I love what you're doing, man. It's great. Like,
Thanks.
I love that you're open and vulnerable about, being in recovery too, because I think there's a lot of people in your industry, but in kind of this creator industry that are maybe suffering and don't talk about it enough. So appreciate you.
I think it's good. You're in recovery as well, right?
Yeah.
So when you get sober, after a little bit, you try to think of like ways you can give back. How you can maybe use your specific like set of skills to contribute. And one thing that I'm sort of blessed with is that I'm just comfortable talking about sort of anything because I've been doing comedy for like 15 years.
Wow.
So I'm like just really used to like embarrassing myself in front of rooms full of people and like oversharing and stuff like that. So whereas for some people, like talking about addiction, I think is kind of hard. For me, like it doesn't really bother me at all. So I figure I might as well. Because, a lot of people don't like to talk about it, and then they end up stuck in it for longer because they're not talking about it, right? They're kind of ignoring it. And I think a lot of people who struggle like we do have a lot of shame. Yeah. And, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a thing that like so very many people struggle with. It's a normal human thing. And a lot of people lose like more of their life than they should have to lose.
So true, man.
Like so many just years of their life evaporating because they don't want to admit that they have a problem. They have shame about their problem. And it's like if they didn't feel that shame, maybe they would have cleaned up a decade before. So I try to just wear it on my chest as much as I can and hope that does something for someone out there.
Yeah. Do people reach out to you like about addiction?
I do get that on Instagram. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Which I'm always, I try to reply to everybody. As my account grows, it gets harder to manage. And also it's funny, sometimes people will really share, which is cool. Like anyone can message me anything. I'm totally fine with it. It's just sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know what to do.
I'm not qualified for this.
Because I started posting about sobriety when I was only, 9 months in or something. So it's like, I'm kind of just showing the baby steps of when you're in early recovery. And I think that can be helpful to some people. And I have some pretty basic advice that I feel comfortable giving. Yeah. But ultimately, even right now, I'm less than 3 years. I'm not like an expert.
Nice, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes people would come to me with some shit. I'd be like, I don't know what to. Yeah. I got a message from like some lady in I think like Yemen. And, she's a woman in Yemen. I couldn't relate less to what her life is. And she's like, I'm struggling so much and I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, is rehab an option? Do you think you could do that? And she was like, in my country, that would ruin my life. It would ruin my life if I went to rehab. Yeah. She was like, I would be just viewed as a drug addict for the rest of my life and completely written off. And I was like, okay, good luck out there.
Yes,
I don't know what to.
Sorry.
God, I wish I could help you, but I got nothing.
Yeah,
I got nothing for a woman in Yemen struggling with addiction, unfortunately.
Oh, man. It's true, though. We can relate on a lot of things, but yeah, like rehab's the only thing that helped me, and we were talking about this before. That's the only thing that I was able, because for me, I just couldn't stop on my own to get that first bit of clarity where it's like, you kind of have this experience in rehab, and maybe you can relate to this, where you look back and you're like, holy shit. You're like, who was that guy?
Yeah.
Who was that guy doing all those things, right? So can you get into a little bit about, how you got into recovery and what brought you here?
Yeah, so rehab also worked for me. A lot of people, they go to rehab when they're like finally ready or whatever. I was cornered and forced. I was intervened upon very much in the way that you see on TV. It's fucking brutal. Did you have an intervention?
Yeah. From, oh man, I'm going to get killed for this, but I had an intervention from my in-laws on Christmas. So,
In-laws, wow.
Yeah. So I've had, some before that.
Yeah.
One or two that I can think of from my parents, but they had known what was going on. But this one was like,
wait, on Christmas?
Yeah.
Dude, that's only just hitting me.
Yeah. It was a lot. Yeah. So I was like, yeah,
Merry
I need to
Christmas.
go. Yeah. I was not in a good place. Yeah.
No, what a day. But it's funny, like, how squirrely addicts can be and how tricky it is sort of to corner us sometimes, because sometimes that's like coming down the pipe maybe, so you can be hard to track down. Yeah. And I guess they were like, Christmas, he's got to be here. We'll get him at Christmas.
Yeah,
we know
the
date and location. We're going to get him.
There's food here. He's going to show up.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. So I don't know if yours was like this. I feel like they're all kind of similar, but it's a bunch of people that you like and love, and their opinion of you matters, and they sit you down. And then my friends all had letters that they'd written out. My friends are comedians, so they're good writers. They know how to write, and they didn't write funny for this, but they're good writers. And then they just really accurately describe everything that's wrong with you right to your face. Yeah. And you just kind of got to take it on the chin and be like, oh no, nothing you're saying is wrong. Yeah. And it sucked. So I sort of got put in rehab against my will, really. Well, I went. Ultimately, no one can like force you to go, right. But I didn't want to. But they cornered me. They told me everything they thought was wrong with me. Then they were like, we've already talked to this rehab facility. It's in Kingston. It's less than a 3-hour drive. We can take you there right now. And I was like, shit. Okay, yeah, maybe we can do that. And they were like, great, it's $25,000. And I was like, shut the fuck up. What are you talking? Worse. Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about, $25,000? It was $25,000. I do cocaine 4 times a week. Yeah. I don't have $25,000. I'm already in debt from all of the cocaine doing. Yeah. Like, this is going to ruin my life. And then they were like, well, we talked to your parents. And I was like, you talked to my fucking parents? Parents have entered the chat. I was super stressed about that. But I am also a really lucky guy in that my parents, like, we didn't grow up like rich, but they are super good with money and super frugal people in a good way. And they've done well for themselves over the course of our life. And they were like, if it means that you won't die, we have money, and, you can pay us back kind of whenever. And a lot of people don't have that. So I'm really fortunate that they were willing to help out. And so I agreed to go, not to that first one that was $25K. I refused to accept that price for some reason. I was like, there's got to be a better deal than that. And it sounded too nice. Yeah. And I was feeling shame. I was like, we got to find a worse, cheaper one. Yeah. Worse in terms of the accommodations, not like the quality of care.
Right.
So we found one for $15,000, and I went there. But yeah, rehab was so helpful, but I definitely going in, I didn't even know if I wanted to quit drinking. I knew cocaine was a huge problem. Yeah. I was like, I got to stop doing coke, but I was like, I can't even imagine life without alcohol. Yeah. Because it's so common and like prevalent in my industry, like doing comedy. Every show is in a bar or wherever, all of my friends drink. My friend has a bar in his house named after me. There's an Andrew bar. It's like my buddy's basement. He named it after me because my last name, it's a pun, but like alcohol.
Oh, okay. I just got that.
Yeah. The Andrew bar. right
in my head.
Yeah. So alcohol was like really entrenched in my life. Yeah. And I didn't know if I wanted
have a choice.
I didn't know if I wanted to give that up. I was like, I'll stop doing cocaine. But I think, rehab, the most important thing it gave me was just that reset. Just like 35, or wait, no, I was there for 33 days. That's the longest I had ever gone since I started without drinking or doing drugs. And your mind does snap back a little bit in that time. Like the addiction loses some of the control and more of yourself has control again. Right. And that was so valuable, I found.
Yeah. I had that exact same thing happen to me where I was like, okay, I can accept the cocaine thing because I was a coke addict too.
Yeah.
And but I can't imagine not drinking for the rest of my life. And people just kept saying, and I always say this, but people just kept saying, just don't drink today. you know, just one day at a time. Just don't drink today. And that was really helpful for me. But I've ultimately come to this realization that it's all the same shit, you know, same shit, different shovel. I always say that. I heard that one time.
Yeah.
You know,
I
I use outside things to change my insides. Right. And I agree with you. We are fortunate because I was in the same place as you where, and I was feeling a lot of guilt and shame too. And my therapist, you know, kind of helped me through that, where she said, if my daughter was struggling with addiction and drug use, like, do you not think, and she posed it on me too, if you had a daughter, I don't have kids yet, if you had a daughter or a son that was struggling with drug addiction and alcoholism, and they had the possibility of dying at any moment, right? Because cocaine nowadays is fucking laced with fentanyl.
Could happen.
Would you pay whatever it took to save her life? And I was like, fuck you. Fuck. Yeah. Like, God, that's so true. And it made me feel better, right? Because like, ultimately I would pay whatever price to save their life, right? And I'm super grateful too that I had my in-laws. You know, we laugh about it, but because it was painful, and it's kind of a bit of a coping mechanism. I want to get into that too, this kind of coping mechanism with comedy, and you know, you do stand up for a living, so I'm really interested in that. But I'm grateful for that day because I didn't really know that I was affecting my in-laws as much as I was.
Yeah.
And they saw their daughter just going through it, me dragging her through the mud. Right.
Yeah, it's affecting their kid.
Exactly. And, you know, they'd do anything to protect their kid, right? So now I look back and I'm extremely grateful for that day.
Yeah,
right?
That's a lot of love from the in-laws.
Yeah.
You know, not even blood, but stepping up to the plate.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's nice of them.
Yeah. And that was a moment too where I was like, fuck, like I need to get back into this, right? Once again, I don't have control over this situation like I thought I did. I don't have control over my drug addiction.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't either. And yeah, so lucky that my parents were able to help out. You know, it helps me a little bit with the guilt is that before I went to rehab, my brother went to rehab like a few years before, but I was like, oh, okay, that kind of evens it out. You know, my parents are always about like if they buy him groceries, they'll like send me $50 or whatever.
Equality,
they're very like they don't want to show favoritism to one over the other. So I'm like, okay, he got rehab first, I get one.
Yeah,
you know,
makes sense.
Now I have to be a good boy, but I had a sort of get out of jail free card sitting there.
Yeah, I love it. So talking about that, like how do you incorporate your kind of addiction and into your sets and your bits, and has it changed as you stayed sober longer?
Yeah, I think when I first got out, I did like a lot of stand-up about sobriety, which is good. And I still do those jokes and stuff. But especially then, it was just like the only thing I ever thought about. Because it's so on your mind when you're first sober, because you're not sure if you're going to relapse and everything. And I just wanted to wear it on my chest right away because it's what I was going through and what I was thinking about all the time. And also I was nervous about relapsing, so I wanted like the accountability. You know, I was like, if I'm talking about it all the time, everyone around me is going to know about it. And then that puts in a good way, I think, just more pressure on me to stay the path, you know? So I just wanted everyone around me to know, hey, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm doing. I'm not supposed to be drinking. If you see me drinking, that's bad. And yeah, I do like talking about it on stage. Now that I'm a couple years in, I've started to like, you know, write jokes about other things again. It's funny, like it's kind of nice. I think every phase of sobriety so far I've found really nice. Like the early going is great. I really liked the first 6 months because you start to feel like yourself again. You know, you get like control of your brain back, and it's really good. Now I'm at a phase where even though it's still a massive part of my life, it's maybe not as much my entire personality as it was for a little bit, which is still a huge part, but I'm just learning things like every other sober person I meet doesn't have to be my new best friend. I don't know if everyone's like that in the early going, but when I was early in sobriety, every time I met a sober person, I'd be like, okay, we're sober people. And so now we go for coffee, we talk all the time, you know? I thought every person I met had to be like my new best pal. And sometimes after shows, people will be like, oh, hey, awesome show. I'm in recovery. And I'd be like, okay, what next? And they're like, just saying hi, really. Like, I'm on my way home.
I got to go back to New York, man. Like,
it's, you know, I'm not your new dada over here. Just like, good, nice show. Goodbye, strange man.
Yeah. That's awesome. So yeah, so you find that like what's kind of like the comedy community like nowadays? Is it kind of split with like I think a lot of people want to know myself. I love stand up, right? It helps me a lot. There's a lot of comedians that I like to watch. But is it do you see it a lot? Do you see the addiction and you're like, "Oh man, that guy's in it bad right now," or
you know what? Way less than I used to. I think there's a lot of talk in general about how the next generation is drinking way less.
Yeah,
you know,
there is. Yeah,
and I think so you're probably seeing that in every industry, and comedy's in one of them. The younger comics, maybe it's just that I'm not around when they're really fucked up and stuff. But I don't see people drinking quite the way that they used to. I think possibly there's an economical reason for that as well. Like it's the rent in the city has gone up so much and the cost of drinking has gone up a lot. Maybe motherfuckers just can't afford it. I don't know. Yeah. But I don't see people really getting turned up on a Monday and Tuesday like I used to when I started. But the city was a much more affordable place at the time too. So that could be a factor. But I find the community's been really supportive of me being sober, frankly. Everybody's been great to me about it, and I never feel like any pressure to drink or anything like that. And I think that, there's people in the community that are sober, a lot more than there used to be, which is nice for me. There's still people that drink pretty heavy, but everybody gets along from what I can tell. We're all sort of artists first.
Yeah.
And, I don't mind being around people that drink, honestly. As long as it's not like a huge problem for them or whatever. Like, some people can have a few and, it doesn't ruin their whole life like it
blows my mind.
Like it does for me. And even though, I find it kind of confusing, I'm happy for them, right? Like, I don't know. Some people are like, I had 5 beers and now I'm going home. I'm like, oh, okay. I would be calling a guy and I'd be up for the next, 14 hours probably.
Yeah.
But that's good for you. Yeah, I don't mind being around people that are drinking and stuff. So that's been good. To a point, I don't know if you're like me. Like I like being around people when they're drinking up until like a certain point, and then I go home.
Yeah,
and it's not a big deal. Like when first I got sober, I had a lot of FOMO. Right, I was worried about because I was always the guy who shut down the bar. Like every day, almost, I was the last person in the bar. Everyone else had gone home. I'd have a drink or two with the staff while they were cleaning up. Like I never missed anything. So when I got sober, I was like, oh, I'm going to miss all this fun stuff. And then, you hang out in a bar sober. And by midnight, you're like, okay, get me the hell out of here.
Nothing here for me.
Yeah, after midnight, nobody's saying shit.
Yeah.
My cue often to go home is when someone starts telling me a story for the second time. That's usually when I'm like, okay, you guys are on a different plane now. You guys are doing a lap, basically, Everything social, everything that's social that was going to happen has happened, and now you're just doing it again.
Victory lap.
It's like, you know what? That's super fun for you. And no, of course, no judgment, but that's my cue to go home and play a little bit of video games by myself on the couch and go bed.
Yeah, and then wake up and not hate yourself the next day.
Oh, the waking up not hating yourself is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember my first New Year's in recovery. Like I've been in recovery since 2015.
Nice, congrats.
I've had 3. I mean, congrats. It is good because I've done a lot of hard work. I'm back at probably 6 months now again.
Okay.
I had a relapse, hence the 3 rehabs. I didn't go for fun,
Just
testing them out. No, this one's good. That one's not so good. I was like the food critic, the guy that goes up in like undercover clothes. I wasn't actually there. I was just testing out the rehab centers. No, I went because I had to go, and my life was a fucking mess. But you learn a lot. You mentioned the early going being really good.
Yeah. I think they call it the pink cloud phase.
Cloud phase.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're past that now, right?
Yeah.
When you have really tough days in recovery and life happens and shit goes on and stuff's out of your control, what kind of things do you do to mitigate or get back on the horse?
I'm a huge exercise guy. That's been really helpful. I feel like I can tell that you are also fit.
Yeah. I used to run marathons too. I mean, you run ultramarathons, right? Like,
I've run 2 technically, but yeah, that's new for me.
How many kilometers is that, just so people know?
Well, I guess technically an ultramarathon is anything over 42.
Yeah, 42 kilometers, which is a regular marathon.
Yeah, which is a regular marathon is 42.2. So I've run a 52 and I've run a 65. Amazing. 65 is the farthest I've run. I did that last week, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, not at like an official event. I just did it on a treadmill.
I was gonna say that's even more impressive. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, wasn't it on a treadmill? I was watching your video.
Yeah, I just did it on a treadmill by myself. It was really boring and hard.
But it feels so good when you're done, right?
It does, yeah. Yeah, I was proud of it.
You mentioned you broke a toenail too, I think, in that video.
You know what? It stayed on there. It's funny sometimes, I don't know, yeah, you've run long distances, you know, your body just will start to complain about stuff while you're doing it, and you have to sort of assess while you're running, like, okay, is what my body's complaining about serious, or is it just being a bit of a bitch?
Yeah.
You know? I find, like, most of the time any external pain, like stuff on my feet, or like, you know, sometimes my nipples chafe or stuff like that.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's tough, but I find those ones you can plow through. Like if you just ignore it for long enough, your body sort of realizes you're not going to stop, and it's like, fine. And it stops.
It gives up, yeah.
It stops giving you that pain notification because it's like it's not doing anything. He's not changing his behavior. So whatever. So my toenail was really bugging me, and I thought it fell off, but it was still on. Thank God. I find foot pain you can plow through. It's when your organs get mad at you that you're in real trouble.
Probably a good indication you should do something about that.
Yeah. When the organs start to bark at you, then you're like, okay, something actually needs to change.
Yeah.
Because I guess technically, you know, you could live without your feet. You could live without your arms, technically, you know. They're a little bit expendable, and I think they know that. But your organs are like, no, we run the show, motherfucker. You need us.
Yeah. Plus, they're really expensive on the black market.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm still in rehab debt.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, the exercise for me when I'm having a hard time is running, especially if you're feeling anxious. You know, it's a really hard thing to get into, I feel. A lot of people find running daunting, and it's hard, and like at first you get shin splints, it's painful, stuff like that. But once you get really good at it, like you can eliminate a lot of anxiety in an hour. Yeah. If you can just go rip on the treadmill for an hour, like a normal like hour run for me is like, you know, between 12 to 14K, and you can just get on that thing and like smash 1,000 calories, and like, it's like the calories were anxiety. Like it's just, you feel so much better after every time.
Yeah. I find too that, and maybe, I don't know if you do this too. I was going to ask you about your creative process a little bit, but whenever whenever I'm struggling with like a dilemma or a problem that I have, I find that when I go on a run, it really clears my thought process, and I get a lot of good ideas, you know, whether creative or not creative.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think running is good for finding like clarity. Yeah. If something's really bugging you, you'll typically feel better at the end of the run because of the like endorphins and shit. But also, there is something about it that sort of lets you like meditate on your problems in a way that is like productive instead of like stewing. I guess like if I had a problem and I spent an hour thinking about it on the treadmill or an hour thinking about it sitting in a chair, just kind of mad, I feel like definitely I'll reach a better resolution with the treadmill running.
Yeah. I meant to ask you this before, but how did you know that you were going to get into stand-up? I know that's like it's not an easy decision to make, right? Just to choose that path.
I sort of happened by it, really. When I was in high school, so I would say as a kid, at first I wanted to be like an athlete. Specifically, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. And then
you kind of got the body for it. Like
I got a miniature. I could be like maybe a luchador if I was gonna appropriate a culture a little bit. Yeah. I'm. That's the thing is I'm too little for like the big leagues anyway. Unless I were to be like a high flying kind of guy, I guess. But
Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. I could be maybe a Rey Mysterio if I had got started 20 years ago getting into it. But I don't know, that dream sort of evaporated because I was so little, and I also just like lived in small town Ontario, and it was a really lofty thing. But I was still kind of into athletics and stuff for a while. Like I was a sprinter, actually. I never did any distance running as a kid, but I was a pretty fast sprinter for a little bit, and I liked that. And then I stopped growing in the 8th grade, and other kids kept growing. Yeah. And, you know, I just got phased out of athletics pretty much, which was what my life sort of revolved around at that point, which is a tough pill as a kid. Because, like I said, I'm from a really remote place, so I was kind of a stud there. Yeah. But then I remember I went to this track meet, and I was from a town of like all white people. You know, there was like 2 Asian families. One ran the convenience store and one ran the Chinese restaurant. Yeah. And then other than that, only white people live in the town. So I remember I went to this like bigger track meet and pretty much like met a black person for the first time. And that guy destroyed me in the 100-meter dash. I remember getting to the starting line. He's like, I was like, 5'7". He was like 6'1", just ripped, veins popping out. And I was like, I got to get into theater, I think. I was like, I never beat this specimen in a race. This guy's a fucking unit, you know? So I got into the arts when nature told me that I would never be an athlete. And I was doing like improv and theater stuff in high school, and I was enjoying that. And then I found out about the Humber Comedy Program, which is a legitimate college program that's comedy oriented that you can take. A friend of mine who is a couple years older than me took it. And my parents were very like, after high school, you need to go to college. Some kind of post-secondary education. We don't care what it is, university, college, but you have to take something. You know, we have money set aside. This is like mandatory. You got to do something. And then I came back and I was like, there's this comedy program. And they were like, we didn't know that existed when we, you know, they were like, oh, okay.
Let's renege here. Yeah.
It's technically a college program. So I did that. And I sort of fell in love with stand-up there. I came in with like more of an improv sketch background. And I thought I would be one of those guys. And then I did stand-up like once. And I was like, oh, that's what I like doing. Yeah. I feel fortunate to have found that at a young age. I was like, I think I did stand-up for the first time when I was 17 still, or freshly 18. And I knew right away that I really, really loved doing it. And it takes a lot of people a lot longer to find like whatever thing is their thing, you know? So I'm grateful that I found it that young. A lot of people start stand-up when they've like already failed at a couple other things. Like I feel like it's like late 20s is normally like they've been to college a couple times and it didn't really work out. And they're like, fuck it, I'm finally going to try stand-up. I've always wanted to do it. And I'm lucky that I pretty much just started doing it from jump.
What about it like excites you? Like what is it that makes you happy about it?
It's just so direct. Like it's just you, the audience, you say something, they laugh or they don't. And that, as an addict, like that dopamine hit of I say something, immediately people laugh really hard in your face at your idea that feeling is better than any drug that I've had. It's really great. And I think one of the things I enjoy about stand-up a lot is that as a kid, I always felt kind of unusual, right? Like, I don't know. I think I'm a bit of an odd person. I'm not like most people in a lot of ways. And I think as a kid, I found that really isolating, which is possibly where the origins of addiction are for me as well, is, you know, you want to fit in. And when everyone's on the same drug, it's easier to feel like you all belong together because your minds are all being altered in the same way. But yeah, as a kid, I felt often unusual. And what I like about stand-up is I can take what's unusual about my brain and craft it into something and show it to people. And when they laugh at it, it's like validating and it makes me feel not so alone. Yeah. You know? Wow. That it feels like there's some purpose to me being skewed in the way that I am.
Yeah. You can use it as a gift, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It turns it into something that is special instead of something that is, you know, negative or other.
Yeah. Have you ever I think I already know the answer to this, but have you ever bombed really bad?
Oh, buddy, it happens thousands of times.
I was hoping there was one that's sticking out, but it's like a rite of passage.
Let me
right?
see if I can think of it. When you first start stand-up, all you do is bomb, unless you're so fortunate. But yeah, it's really hard to do. Like most people's number one fear is public speaking, right? If you put on top of the fact that you have to just talk in front of people, you have to make them laugh, ideally like a few times a minute. It's a lot of pressure. It's difficult to do, especially when you're young. Like I started doing stand-up when I was like 18. I had nothing to talk about, you know? Like no one gives a shit what you think when you're 18 years old. I'm like 18 performing for rooms full of people that are like 30 to 40 years old. Like what do they give a fuck? Yeah. You know? So yeah, for most comics, the first few years is like you're bombing as often as it's going well, you know, if you're lucky. I'm grateful that my first set went pretty good. And that was enough to sort of give me the bug and give me the confidence that, okay, like this can go well.
Right.
I just have to figure out how to do that more consistently. But I am capable of this. If I just bombed my first set, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be here today even. But yeah, bombing's just part of it. As you get better and more experience, you will learn. I feel like you never fully stop bombing. Your bombs just don't look as bad. You learn to bomb gracefully.
Yeah, you bounce back a little bit better.
Yeah, and you know what? Bombing really isn't that bad a thing if you're comfortable in your own skin. Like, you know, once you've been doing it for a while, a joke can not land, and you just go, oh, okay, well, that one didn't work, did it? Oops. You know, and people are like, okay. I find as long as you feel comfortable, the audience feels comfortable. But in the early stages, you're uncomfortable. And when a joke doesn't work, then you're really uncomfortable. And then if they can see that you're really uncomfortable,
they can smell that.
Yeah, then they get really uncomfortable. I'm trying to think if I have any like epic bombs. I've definitely walked some people. When I first started, it's funny when you're an early pro comic because they'll send you somewhere, and, you know, you've played, like, the clubs in this city, and you think, I'm pretty hot shit. You know, you're in front of, like, warm crowds that show up to a comedy club. They're comedy fans. They know what they're getting into. You know, these environments are kind of easy mode. So you start there, and you think, like, okay, I'm fucking pretty good at this. And then you get to the point where you start to work the road, and they send you places, which is better money gigs, but now you're in like some small town. These people have seen comedy only on TV a couple times. Comedy comes to their town once a year. And, you know, I remember one time doing like a golf resort. Ooh. And I'm like, I didn't know how to dress good for gigs yet either or anything. It's just like golf resort. I had like an open flannel shirt and a Doom t-shirt on, and they're all like 60-year-old white people in like suits or like nice clothes and shit. So right away I like look like I don't belong there. And we're supposed to be kind of clean, but they don't specify like what exactly clean means, you know? I talked to the guy before the show. I'm like, so what does clean mean to you? Like, what are you trying to avoid? And he was like, I don't know. Don't worry about it. And I was like,
so dangerous.
Yeah, right. But
telling a comic that.
Yeah. He was like, I don't know, it's probably fine. And I was like, okay. So I just went up and did my normal shit. Time was really not clean. I walked tables. People left, which is a hard feeling when you're up there and it's not going well, and already you're a little bit panicking. Then you see a couple people get up and leave. That moment is like, oh God, like what if they all get up and leave? You know, and you're trying to just find a good note to leave on and save face or something, but you know your mind is just spiraling because you're like, people are getting up, and you're like, am I in trouble? You know. Yeah. And a little bit, I didn't get in a ton of trouble, but I got chewed out a little bit. It was funny. The organizer sent the guy that was headlining the show to like chew me out. He was, you got to go talk to that guy. But so this guy is another comedian and like my friend, right? So I get off stage, and he pulls me aside, and he's like, listen, here's what's happening. You messed up a little bit. It's not that bad, but that guy over there, he wants to see me yell at you. So this is me yelling at you, but it's not a big deal. I ordered you a burger while you were on stage. It should be here in a few minutes. So the guy over,
so many feelings after that.
The guy in the distance like thinks I'm being disciplined or whatever, when in reality the guy was being pretty soft on me.
And then I had a burger after.
Yeah, so that was kind of that was one of my first tough bombs. Also, that guy who told me not to worry about being clean, when people were leaving, I saw him like talking to the crowd, being like, they were told well in advance not to be saying anything like that. And I was like, you motherfucker, you throwing me. I was like, you kind of gave me permission. Like, this is on you too. But he totally, passed the buck and put it on
threw
me.
You right under the bus.
Yeah, threw me way under the bus.
Oh my God. Oh, so you're you like to cook too?
I do.
You? Yeah, because I was watching a few of your videos. They're hilarious, man. Honestly,
Thank you.
It's the idea of asking AI to combine two meals together it's a great idea. Where'd you come up with that? And can you explain it a bit?
Yeah. So I've been doing this thing called Man versus AI cooking show, and it's just that I have AI randomly generate or randomly give me two existing meals, and then I have to figure out a way to marry those two things into one sort of cohesive dish. I think I had just been doing like general cooking videos for a while where I would make something and it was starting to feel like maybe a little stale. And I wanted something that would maybe keep people a little bit more engaged, especially until the end of the video. And I figure that doing it like this, I get the two dishes. I got to make them into one thing. Now the audience themselves is thinking, oh shit, how would I do that? How is he going to do that? Where is this going to end up? In the end. So I think it's a good idea to like keep people watching through the whole video. And hopefully maybe like, just get some conversation going with people in the comments.
I love the comment section in those videos.
I'd love to hear like what someone else would have done. The last one I posted, a couple people were like, here's how I would have done it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Because I love food stuff too. Mm-hmm. So when someone is like, well, you could have done this. I'm like, oh, okay. That's cool. Actually, I didn't think of that. Yeah. Because realistically, I like to cook, but I'm not like trained or anything. I think I've got a couple moves. One of those people. It's like, it's a little bit smoke and mirrors. I can really cook a few things pretty well, but once you get past that, I'm like, I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing.
If you were on like a cooking show, you'd be fucked.
Yeah. If they were like, okay, today you're cooking Indian, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm done. I'm smoked.
Back to comedy.
Yeah.
What was the last video you made? It was some sort of pad thai. And
So my brain process for this one was, so AI gave me sheet pan lemon chicken with veggies and no bake chocolate peanut butter bar. So, I feel like a lot of times if you have to combine two food things that seem completely unrelated, you have to find some kind of in between. So at first I was like, okay, let's just marry the chicken and the peanut because that's easy. Chicken and peanut goes together. Thai food.
They've been doing it for years.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, Thai food. It said sheet pan chicken and veggies. It didn't specify which veggies. So I was like, okay, pad thai has vegetables in it. It has chicken in it. I'll make the lemon chicken. Then I'll make the lemon chicken into a pad thai with like red pepper, veggies covered. I've achieved that part of the ask.
Yeah.
There's still the chocolate to deal with. I got to get chocolate in here. And I wanted, it said no bake chocolate peanut butter bars. So I thought it should be served in bar form to meet the challenge. So I took the pad thai and smushed it into like an 8x8 baking thing and just put it in the freezer. And then I was like, okay, chocolate, mole, like a Mexican chocolate sauce is a thing. I think they put it on meat. I've never even had it.
Yeah, same.
So I just looked up what goes into a mole, which I know is a sauce that normally takes like 24 hours or something if you want to make it correctly. But I just melted some chocolate sauce or some like baker's chocolate in a double boiler, threw in like the Mexican spices, waited for that pad thai to freeze, cut it into bars, dunked it in the chocolate, put that in the fridge, wait for the chocolate to set. It was edible. We got it to edible. And You know, when you hear lemon chicken, chocolate peanut butter bar, if you can get that ask to edible, I think small victory.
I was reading the comments and I love fucking comments on videos, man. Some people are so clever. But this one lady's like, I'm Mexican and I would never eat this in my life, or I would never.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like.
Yeah, although that lady, she was like, I'm Mexican. And she said, I hate mole. Yeah. And then she said, I'll never eat this. And I was like, well, if you hate mole, then, you know. I feel like it's crazy to be like, this looks like it sucks. I hate the ingredients used in it. It's like, well, then of course you think it looks bad if you don't like the things that are in it. Oh man, that's not on me.
Fuck. Oh, that's good stuff. But yeah, that engagement code, it's a fucking piece of shit to crack on Instagram. I don't, keeping people to watching the whole videos. I mean, I watched that whole video because I was like, I got to see the end of this, right?
That's what I'm hoping for with these ones. Yeah. It's figuring out algorithms is such a difficult thing, and like maybe not the best for addicts too, because we get addicted to stuff, and social media is really addictive. And sometimes in trying to grow my audience on social media, I also just end up on it for like way too long, and I have trouble putting it down. But algorithm stuff is so tricky. Mine's been tanking, and I think I figured out why. A few months ago, Instagram asked me, they had this new feature. They were like, do you want us to translate your videos to Spanish? And I was like, okay, why not?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Just more people to potentially see my content. Sure, go ahead, do that. Translate my videos to Spanish, show it to Spanish people, see if they like it. Yeah. And then my traction started going down, and I've realized that the algorithm, because I'm translating to Spanish, thinks that I want a Spanish audience.
Only Spanish.
So it's like pushing my shit way more towards Spanish than like my audience that I've already built.
And they're getting insulted and shit.
All these Spanish people are like, who the fuck's this guy who obviously doesn't speak any Spanish with his AI translated video? Like, they're not biting on it. And now the people that I actually made the video for aren't seeing it. So
Where'd he go?
Yeah. I just turned that off. And I'm hoping now my numbers will go back up. But I'm like, damn, that's a feature you guys pitched to me, and it just ruined my shit, So precarious.
I hate it. But to your point, like, some days I'm like, chasing those likes and those follows so much on the podcast.
Yeah, and that's little dopamine. You got to be careful with it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I enjoyed most about rehab, honestly, and I need to try to incorporate this in my life a little bit more, is that it improved my relationship with my phone, because we weren't allowed to have our phone.
That was nice.
In rehab. We got them for 1 hour a day, or actually 50 minutes, 50. And that was great. That was a great phone relationship, because when you only have it for about an hour a day, you use it to do stuff. Like, there's shit you got to get done. I would pick up my phone every day and I'd have things to do. Just things as simple as like responding to texts from friends that I was keeping in touch with to help keep me sane and stuff. But I'd pick up my phone and there'd be a bunch of notifications, and I would plow through that shit and then put it down and away and done, Whereas now that I have my phone with me all the time again, I'm constantly checking it. And I feel like a lot of people are like that. I'm a constant phone checker. Yeah. And it gets really compulsive and kind of addictive. And the subtext, sort of every time you look at it and there's nothing to look at, it's like a little loss. You're looking at it to see, did anybody message me? Did I get an email? Am I hearing back about this? Did I get any new likes? And every time, the more you check it, the less likely it is that there's anything for you to see. Right. And every time you look at it, it's just like, oh, no one's trying to get in touch with you. Oh, no one likes your thing. Yeah. Oh, no one, I feel like it's like really like bad mental health stuff. So I got to get back to, for a little bit when I got out of rehab, I would mostly leave my phone in the charger in the room. But like if I wanted to go over and look at it, I'd have to physically walk over there.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah. And I was using it less. And then, how addiction is slowly over time, ramps up and ramps up. But now I'm on my phone. I'm on my phone way too much again, but I would like to get a handle on that.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, and I hadn't thought about it like that. As you were talking, I'm thinking like, and this probably already exists, but it's like I need like a lockbox for my phone that's like on a timer. Yeah. But even just thinking about doing that, my addict brain is like, don't fucking do that, idiot. Like,
because it wants you to.
Idea. Yeah. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of have to see myself in these two figures, right? My addict is currently in the parking lot doing push-ups right now, waiting for me to fuck up, right?
Yeah.
You hear that, and it's true.
Learning to separate the addict brain and the and you is a really tricky thing.
It is.
Because you'll think that you've got it all figured out, but your addict brain is learning too, right? So it'll be like, okay, I tried this and it didn't work. Okay, what else can I try? And then it might wait a few months and bust out some new move.
Yeah.
It's wild the way it can mess with you and like how convincing it can be. When I first got out of rehab, I moved in with some guy. This for a bit, my buddy, who is also in recovery now. But at the time that we moved in together, he was supposed to be sober, and he ended up relapsing a lot. And it was, for me, a really chaotic and difficult living situation. And this is how, like, evil your addict brain is. Because he was relapsing, my addict brain was like, this is a free relapse for you.
Yeah.
You can relapse, and everyone will blame him, and it won't even be your fault. Right? Because you went into this living situation that was supposed to be a sober environment for you, and it's not, and you're trapped there, and people will understand if that breaks you, and the blame really won't even be on you.
Wow.
And then you can get sober again, and everyone will treat you like a hero again, like they did when you first got sober, and that'll be really nice. And I'm like, oh, you're an evil bitch, but it's like, it can be really convincing.
Yeah, cunning, baffling, powerful. God, that is so relatable.
Yeah.
I've never had that exact experience, but I totally understand that.
Yeah.
It's happened in so many different ways.
Sometimes the addict brain is like, listen, just relapse. You'll get sober again. You beat me already. It's just like, yeah, you already beat me. Just fucking have a month. Have a party month. Get sober again. You already know you can do it. But it's like, yeah, but I might die in that fucking month, man,
Or I might not come back.
Yeah, I might think that I can beat you again, but I can't or whatever. The most consistent message I got when I was in rehab that has been helpful over the course of the 33 days, a lot of different speakers, a lot of different meetings, you hear a lot of guys talk. Most consistent thing that people said was every time they relapsed that it was worse.
Yeah.
That they were worse every time, that the things that they did were worse, that they felt worse, that they did went crazier with their use. Every single person said that.
That was my experience too. Every
time.
Yeah.
But your addict brain, I think, wants you to, it wants to tell you, yeah, just relapse. Now you're educated about addiction. You know about it. You're stronger. You'll be able to have a better handle on it this time. You'll have a better eye for when things are getting out of hand, and you'll keep it under control. And you're like, yeah, why? That makes sense. I know more about addiction now. I know the signs. Maybe it will be okay. But the logic is there. But every single person that I've heard talk is like, nope, it's worse.
Don't do it, man.
It's so much worse.
Yeah, I never thought I was gonna smoke meth, and then I did. So yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. I probably would have. I never did, but if someone handed it to me at the right time.
Happened to me. Yeah.
Like, when I was like super boozed up and coked up, if anybody offered me anything, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Why not?
You mean it'll get me in a different place than where I am at now?
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, I think if like my high from the coke was maybe starting to wear off or something, and they were like, "Here's something that's gonna bring it to another level," I'd be like, "Oh, thank you." Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah. Easy sell.
Yeah.
Take my money.
Yeah. Man, that's a really good way to put it. I appreciate that. Can you talk about this? You have a really cool event coming up in August, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm about 2.5 years sober right now. I'm at a point where I feel like I've got myself pretty under control, and I'd like to give back a little bit. Now that I'm not so worried about me all the time, do some stuff for some other people too. So I want to raise some money for the rehab center that I went to, and also for this cool charity in the States called End Overdose. So this August the 24th, I'm gonna put my running skills to the test. I'm gonna run on a treadmill for 12 hours. The goal in those 12 hours is to make it 100 kilometers. We'll see. So far, the farthest I've run is 65. I did that in 6 hours though, so wow. I feel like
what's the pace on that? Do you know?
I don't know, but I exactly. I think like 5:28.
Okay, that's really good. Yeah,
something like that for that length of time.
That's really good. Yeah, 5 minutes 28 seconds. That's really good. Yeah.
But I think it's something like that. I can't remember, but I'm just looking at it like, okay, I made it 65 in 6. That gives me another 6 to make it 35. Maybe doable, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if my body can handle it. I'm excited to find out. But the idea is, so I'm gonna be on the treadmill for 12 hours. However far I make it is how far I make it. Ideally 100 kilometers. We're going to live stream that. I'm going to have comedians coming in throughout the day, and they're going to sit on a couch next to the treadmill and shoot the shit while I'm just there running, slowly.
It's like an activity podcast.
Broken down. Yeah, kind of. It's funny, too, because I won't be able to, I need to focus on my breath so much that I won't be able to talk to them. Like, they just have to talk, and I'm just going to be there, like furniture, essentially, moving furniture for the 12 hours. And then I'm doing this on stage at a comedy club. So when there's only 30 minutes left in the run, we're going to fill up the room with audience. And then I'm going to record a comedy special right after being on the treadmill for 12 hours.
Yeah, no shower, no
shower. I want to look like shit. Yeah. I think it's so funny. I don't know why I like it so much. I think, usually when people record their special, they're like prim and like, they just got their hair cut and they're wearing, brand new clothes. They look like $1 million. I think it's funny to record it just distraught and all messed up. I'm going to be walking funny. I don't know. I think it's going to look interesting. And I think like after you've run that for like a really long time, you feel like really vulnerable. Yeah. And I'm curious about how that'll impact the performance.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I'm also curious about like the extent that an audience can revive a performer. Because I find like an audience's energy really can like bring you to life. Sometimes I'll do a show. Maybe I'm sick. I'm a little under the weather. I'm coughing. I get on stage. None of that shit. The adrenaline just kind of takes over. The energy from the people almost is like healing. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, let's see if we can find the edge of that. Let's see if a crowd can be so hot that after I have run for 12 hours that they can bring me back to life. Yeah, I'm super pumped about that. The whole day is sort of metaphor for addiction, right? The treadmill's addiction. You're stuck. You're stuck in the same place. You're not moving forward. You're doing the same thing over and over again, but it's just getting more and more difficult the longer you do it. And maybe for a little bit, you think you're having fun, but it is slowly breaking you down and breaking you down. And at a certain point, you have to admit, I can't beat this thing. I just have to stop. I just have to get off of this fucking thing and go do something else. And that's what the day is.
And to your point too, it's like you're bringing in the audience kind of like as a community to help you get through it.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. And even during the day when I'm running on the treadmill and my friends are sitting there on the couch, but I can't really talk to them. I can't engage with them the way that I would like to engage with them because I'm too wrapped up in this thing that I'm doing. That's addiction too, right? Because a lot of times when I was around people in social settings, I was almost still alone because I was so focused. Like I was there to get fucked up and the socializing was secondary, right? I was like, when is my dealer going to, while someone's talking to me, I'm like, when's my dealer going to get here and stuff like that. So the fact that my friends will be there, but I can't really converse with them is it's all part of the metaphor. And yeah, I think that if I can go through all of that, I was in addiction for like 12 years. This is 12 hours. So I'm basically condensing the whole thing into one day. And I think if I can walk off that treadmill with a smile on my face and go do a show, I don't know. I think it's really cool. I think it says something.
That's awesome.
I think to me, because obviously I tell people I'm doing this and like, that sounds really horrible. And I'm like, yeah, it does. But I think for me, the day, it's not about pain. It's about what you can do once you've put the pain behind you, what you're still capable of, even after all of that. And I want to show people that. I want to show people that after you've been through something horrible, that you're still capable of incredible things.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. How do we sign up? How do we find it? Where do we find you?
So yeah, it's going to be a Comedy Bar, Danforth location, August 24th. Tickets are on sale actually already. If you go to their website and you go to August 24th, it should say like Andrew Barr comedy special taping Tickets are live. And after I cover the venue fee and everything, all of the money's going to the charities. I'm not taking any money.
Nice.
So if you want to come, you're supporting a good cause, and it's a legitimate world's first event. No one's ever done this before. Yeah. That's what really excites me about it, is no one in the history of the world has done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly because it's a horrible idea, but but still, I'm going to be the first guy. And I think that's exciting, because none of us know what it's going to look like.
People told the Wright brothers that flying was a horrible idea. So.
Yeah. Maybe this would be a new thing. Yeah. Maybe every year some comic will be like, fuck it, I'm going to run 100 kilometers and record. Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm really pumped up about it.
That's amazing. And then how do we find you on Instagram?
At Andrew Barr Comedy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Dude, I appreciate you, man. I had a lot of fun today. Thanks so much for coming.
No problem, man.
On.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
That's great.
Thanks for listening. Please help us grow the channel and like, share, and subscribe for more content. The discussions and stories shared on this podcast are for informational and motivational purposes only. This content is not a substitute for professional medical advice, addiction treatment, or therapy. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please consult a licensed physician, addiction specialist, or mental health professional. You are no longer alone.